Egyptian officials have said they thwarted an attempt to cut off most internet communications between Asia, Africa, and Europe with the arrest of 3 men suspected of attempting a terrorist attack. Text and images published on the Egypt Navy Facebook site said shore installations observed 3 men in a fishing boat about 750 meters off of the port city of Alexandria. The boat appeared to be near an internet undersea cable nexus. Running from France to Singapore, the SEA MEWE4 is a fiber optic cable more than 18,000 kilometers long. It is the primary internet backbone between Mediterranean, Middle Eastern, Southwestern, and Southeast Asian nations. An Egyptian naval party raided the boat and found cutting and diving equipment aboard. They said the 3 suspects were working to break the cable link. Egyptian Telecom said the damage caused a 60% slowdown of internet speed. Egyptian law enforcement officials said the network attackers could have been affiliated with al-Qaeda or other radical Islamist groups wanting to deny communications between Egypt and nations with Western beliefs. Countries like Egypt are heavily dependent on undersea high-capacity cables, in part because of weak domestic communications networks. The installation and maintenance of such lines costs billions of dollars. Securing such lines can be difficult.
Customers are asking when they're going to get full service restored, and you're what, 75% the day before and about 90% now? What's the time to get this internet connection service really back to normal in your view?
Thanks, John. The challenge has been that actually yesterday morning, about 2 hours before CME4 was hit, we were able to bring all of our services up that had been taken down last Friday. And then within that 2-hour period of slight celebration, we suddenly lost some capacity again as CME4 was taken out, as you were discussing earlier. And we're now back up to about 90% of our customers with full or partial restoration. We're hoping that later this evening, overnight, that we'll bring that up to 100% again.
Mark, this usually takes about 2 to 3 weeks to get full restoration, but it seems more than a coincidence if you take a step back and say, look, 2 major incidents in the span of less than a week. One we're suggesting is an anchor that dragged through the T-North cable, and now we have some signs of sabotage just north of Alexandria, less than a kilometer offshore. What's going on in your view? You have to kind of try to connect the dots here, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, but I think we've been looking at it. We certainly, in conjunction with our colleagues and Telecom Egypt as the operator of the T-North system on which we carry our traffic, we have been looking at the cause, and we're very certain that it is in fact a vessel. The vessel would appear to have been identified. It took out not only the T-North cable, I have to say, but also another cable called the Europe-India Gateway, or EIG. And at the same time, we have another 2 systems in the Red Sea down as well. So it's pretty much a perfect storm. But aside from this morning's news in regard to CME4's potential sabotage, I don't think that we're seeing anything coordinated or an attack on the cable systems, other cable systems that have been impacted.
So this is despite the anti-globalization forces, you're convinced there's no sabotage?
As we look at what happened in terms of our cable, the event that occurred was some kilometres offshore. It was quite deep water, much deeper than was the experience yesterday morning with CME4. Unlikely that somebody would have been able to go down and cut at that depth. And we also know that the vessel that was on site, and I believe that discussions have already occurred with the master of that vessel as well.
Mark, I'm sure you've tracked this all the time. I've been tracking the story since 2008, 2009. This is not the first incident. It raises the question about the technology that's being utilized to lay the cables and then actually leaving them vulnerable to anchors dragging and the rest. It doesn't sound like we're quite in the 21st century, if I can be candid, considering these are the internet lifelines to the world in terms of how to best protect the cables. Do you have a thought on that?
Well, I think what we all try to do is to have a diversity of cables. As you've noted earlier, there is pretty much a spaghetti bowl of cables running across the Med, and increasingly we try all to be spread across a number of them. The challenge becomes when you lose multiple cables we have now. We do a lot of work when we're laying cables to bury them. We do post-lay protection as well in terms of getting exclusion zones, telling ships' captains where they are. However, when you've got a 120,000-tonne tanker that decides to ignore that, unfortunately that anchor is going to win out against our cable. We continue to try and improve it, we continue to try and diversify.